All right, guys, we are live. Hopefully, you're having a great day today. So, we are Sunday getting into the markets, and we have some serious volatility hitting so far today. I know some of you guys were shorting the markets, taking some trades over on some positions like SOXS, even some of you guys anticipating the bullish momentum in the oil industry, which we have seen oil prices surging. I was just at the gym yesterday, I think it was, and I was talking with Elliot, who's someone that it goes to my gym, and we talk about stocks sometimes, and he was saying that he was shorting oil, or not shorting oil, excuse me, buying in on Brent oil, and basically he's probably crushing it today. A lot of you guys are doing well if you shorted, have any short positions going, because the market, as a lot of investors were looking forward to what was going to come out today, we wanted to see what does it look like here around like 6 p.m. today for the reports, what's going on. And so far, definitely seeing, the start, definitely if you're shorting today, or on Friday, then things are looking really good. I know we entered a small short over on SOXS, didn't really sustain it. I think there was some other serious volatility that we heard, and we're going to be going into it. Couple things to go over for today. We even saw HIMS actually jump like 20% after they've sold off quite a bit. They've got some positive news going on. Some news to realize as well this week. I think it's the CPI. We got inflation reports coming out. We have a full stacked week for this week. And we also will be watching our earnings. We'll have some earnings targets coming out in StockMate, which you guys, if you ever want to tune on in, we'll be there tomorrow morning at Market Open live. We also have all of the earnings reports that come out, and we'll have some different targets as we're wrapping things together today. And we'll also be there live trading as we are every morning. If you want to tune on in at any point, you can always check the second link in the description down below. But the reports that are really important as well is going to be a job opening report. So we're going to see as well some economic reports, but really obviously a lot of pressure on the oil right now, or a lot of attention you could say on the oil. So feel free to comment your ticker symbols down below. Happy to go over any ticker symbols. Ideally, they're not oil stocks. Well, we can go over oil stocks, but ideally they're not a bunch of oil stocks, and then we could keep some of them in the tech stocks. We'll go over the top 5 in the AI market, and then if you have any ticker symbols you want us to take a look at, feel free to drop them in the chat. Some of you guys might have trouble commenting in the chat. At this point, if you're having any issues with the commenting, just realize you may have to subscribe. If your comment's not going in the live chat, you just got to subscribe to the channel, and that will make sure that your chat actually goes through in the live chat. You can go ahead and comment in the chat with any ticker symbols that you guys have in mind for this weekend or this week as we wrap up the weekend. So I see a few different ones. We got Elvis commenting CRWV. We got RDW. Okay, so we're going to jump into it. Cynthia, how's it going? Hostado, good to see you. Dean, good to see you here. All right. So once again, with the exception of RCAT, which was up, we saw Big Bear AI doing well last week. CTM is also up today. A lot of attention on the oil markets. So let's touch before we get into deep on that side of things, as that's a big deal right now with the markets and some of the downward pressure right now is heavily influenced by the war that's going on. So we are seeing that, but we're also going to have a lot of inflation report. And if you guys were shorting any stocks, let's say on Friday, we get into today, into tomorrow, just realize that things can shift very quickly. It's possible by like end of day tomorrow, we may see stocks even have signs of recoveries or signs of a reversal, which if you are in any stocks where you're shorting the market, just be careful because things can shift very quickly. If we get indication of a reversal tomorrow, then things may shift green very quickly. So keeping that in mind, let's jump in. So Elvis has got CRWV. Let's take a look. So Coreweave doesn't have too much on the charting side. I know that they have some investments from some top companies in the data center market. They're down about 3.5%. So last time we were, doing a full breakdown of Coreweave, we were looking here, Elvis, for them to continue some of this pattern. So they're in the right markets, the AI markets, the data center markets, very good market, but they are also at a resistance, and we were anticipating a potential sell down on them of potentially about 50% sell down into that $45 price point. They did sell down 25% of that. So they are continuing to get rejected as we kind of anticipated. A lot of this pattern is actually very, very common, very, very common in the IPO world, where you have a company that IPOs, rockets up, has a really bullish momentum right at IPO. And despite, they might have more momentum as a newer company in the AI market, they're a hyperscaler, they're doing the data center market stuff, that they may continue some of that hype. But really what would be more possible and what we'd expect is that they sell down further. So a lot better, outlook on the data center market right now than any other time in history. But even so, you see maybe they hold this support level around 70 or 65 or $70, but potentially really seems like they are having some downward pressure, potentially selling down further. Also pull them up here in inside of Prophecy app. Let's do it. Let's get it. Let me get a multi-model view here, and we can get a good projection. But yeah, once again, when it comes to Coreweave, I'd just be a little more bearish outlook on Coreweave as I have been. So yeah, seeing them sell down. All right, we got Fang and Venom according to Cynthia. So yeah, I mean, Fang, if you're just looking, let's see, Diamondback Energy is the name. And you can see, let's take a look at their recent chart, okay? A little bit volatile. They're going from left to right. We see them sell down from 220 down to about 120, and now they're recovering back up to about 183. Let's see what company this is. Diamondback Energy, $50 billion market cap, and Midland, Texas, American company engaged in hydrocarbon exploration. All right, so natural gas, oil, oil equivalent of estimated proved reserves of 49% was petroleum, 24% natural gas, 27% natural gas. Yeah, okay. So they are financially looking really good. You see them growing annually, and they're up to $14 billion in revenue over the last year, 2025. And then you look at assets up to 70 billion. So healthy company in the oil industry. So once again, like as I mentioned, we can go into some oil stocks, but it's going to be kind of heavy if I'm going into a ton of oil stocks, because as I mentioned, oil is everything right now, given the bullish momentum in the oil markets. You can even see this company's up 6% right now. So yeah, I mean, things look pretty good for them from a technical perspective. I would just see how things open tomorrow morning, because right now oil seeing a lot of momentum. And just to keep things into perspective, tomorrow is probably, if it's continuing how we see this evening, probably going to be very bullish in the oil markets, most likely. So definitely one to be watching. Kind of depends on your plan. If you're in the short-term trade right now, might be actually a really good time to be over in that market. But you can always see right now it's not super overextended, but it's starting to push up, and it's going to face resistance here around $200 a share. So to watch them into tomorrow morning would be the right move for sure. Wow. Yeah, oil is absolutely crushing it. Okay. Let's see. Cynthia, Fang, Venom, IREN. Okay, so we have some trades going over on IREN as well. IREN is down about 4% right now. You can see them consolidating from left to right. So Hostado called this one out just a moment ago. Once again, market's pulling down. I know we had some shorts going this last week, and some people are very happy with the shorts. But right now, mostly downward pressure. You can see they're targeting back down to this 200-day moving average. Potential sell down. Oh, this is NBIS. Wrong one. Hold on. IREN. Here we go. IREN is consolidating just like NBIS from left to right. You can see that movement. So currently, they just broke pattern a little bit. There's a few companies that broke pattern just today with the sell downs pre-market. But yeah, as you could tell, big sell-off. I wouldn't just jump in just yet. As I mentioned, we could see towards the end of tomorrow, those reversals kick in, but it's a really big week, right? So we have CPI report. You're going to see job openings report. You're going to see a lot of data this week on inflation. And then also we have, the tensions as well. And what is for sure right now is oil is crushing it, but that data centers, AI markets, general tech markets are seeing the downward pressure. So as of right now, no indication of a reversal here on IREN. However, we'll have a lot more clearer direction by tomorrow morning. Can't really have a super clear look. And that's something that we do. Again, if you ever want to tune on in, we'll be there tomorrow morning at market open in Stockmates. But when it comes down to the key factors to watch for IREN is that you're really looking for the reversal to kick in. Right now, it's just down selling, down trending at the moment. Okay, so a little bit of a break in pattern. And yeah, once again, data center markets, AI markets, really every market, even just like general markets, quantum for sure, space tech markets even right now. Little bit of defense heating up from last week, but for the most part, you're seeing some downward pressure there today. All right, we got Jo. What's up? We got Jo and Fine Touch Marketing says RZLV. Yeah, RZLV. So, and let me just pull up some of the projections as well. When we were looking over here on Prophecy AI, super helpful. And we've been using Prophecy a lot. If you guys ever want to use Prophecy, it's going to be the third link in the description below. Feel free to go get your hands on it. We have a paid trial there, $7 for 7 days. You can get projections on top stocks, pretty well aligned with the projections we came out here with Coreweave just a moment ago here, Elvis. Fairly into that bearish momentum because of the IPO. It looks like there is some shifts over the next 6 months, though, and potentially looking for most models in a reversal into next 6 months to a year, but pretty strongly in the downward pressure here into the next month. So the next ticker symbol that we heard of was, RZLV. All right, so RZLV, very bearish projections you can see here. I've talked about this stock a few times, but essentially, if you really wanted to invest in something high risk, you would go with RZLV. And if you wanted something that was in debt and they weren't demonstrating good financial management, then you may invest in RZLV. RZLV is having more liabilities than assets currently, which is really not healthy. And then their income statement, they got the negative net income of about $172 million and only making revenue of about 188K. So if there was, a few companies that I would short, I'd actually probably put RZLV on the list of companies that I would short. I know there's a lot of hype. I mean, we could go over to you can go over to YouTube right now. Just search up in here RZLV stock on YouTube, and you'll probably see look at this. It's a huge week ahead. Watch this. People are like, huge week. This is the only stock with 300% upside, or people are saying like retire early or whatever, bigger upside ahead. But like emergency upload, massive breakout coming. And it's so funny because I've literally been seeing these types of headlines from people for like 8 months, and they're so bearish in the actual financials that these headlines make zero sense. They have more liabilities. They've even had bankruptcy announcements. And so, yeah, I just wouldn't even touch them on the short term. They've been pumped and dumped. If you pull up this chart here, I don't know how it looks, but it's probably looking like a pump and dump. Yeah, it looks like basically a pump and dump. Yeah, just like big spike, huge sell off, way down to where they were before they even spiked. So yeah, once again, RZLV would not really touch that one personally. Hopefully that helps. All right. Jaya, how's it going? We got Palantir, IREX. Yep, that's the one we just went over a moment ago. Once again, looking for a reversal there on the data center market. It could happen as soon as after hours tomorrow, but as of right now, everything's seeing the downward pressure. All right, Jaya says Bloom. All right, so Bloom, I believe that is an energy company, if I'm not mistaken. Let's take a look. Yeah, Bloom Energy. Let's pull them up here. Oh, that's Bloomberg. Hold on. All right, hold them up. How is it going? How's everyone? All right, I see some of the, yeah, feel free to comment the ticker symbols, guys, down below. So Bloom Energy, let me actually pull them up over here in Prophecy. Way faster. There we go. And let me pull up the insider trading on this one as well while we're here. Institutional ownership here. All right, so their market cap's at about 39 billion. Their balance sheet is positive equity. Income statement, they're doing about $2 billion in revenue, so increasing per year, and about 777 million last quarter with a positive net income. Now, this company is fairly focused on energy. You can see that they have 2,100 employees, and they're headquartered in San Jose, California, just a few hours away from here. And they have a few products, primarily servers for generating electricity. And then they have something for producing hydrogen with approximately 1.4 gigawatts of energy server systems deployed in more than 1,000 locations in 9 countries. Its solid oxide fuel cell technology platform is the foundation for its energy server system and Bloom electrolyzer. Got it. Okay. So $39 billion market cap. It looks like they're bringing in per year just about $2 billion a year, with a positive net income last quarter and nearly $1 billion in revenue. Actually looks pretty good. See how their stock is looking from a chart perspective. Okay, they recently are kind of high up. You see that they've surged. It's possible they continue to trend as well, but you could just kind of look here. Currently, there is a level of support where they'd use, sometimes the previous resistance is going to act as a support level. If there's enough focus on it from institutions, and that's what they're watching, which in this case, this is a very highly analyzed stock by a lot of people, which I'm sure there's been, if there's one company you're looking at for kind of the powering of data centers, powering of some of the new infrastructure for AI, then this would be one that a lot of people will be watching for sure. You can see that it's sold down here to about 128. All right, so maybe just below this support level. Once again, breaking pattern just a little bit, selling down, and no indication of a reversal just yet. That's how most stocks are, which is great for those of you guys that are shorting. I know some of you guys just making a killing the last week, some of our people that do the shorts. But once again, being careful, things can reverse just as quickly. Really want to watch tomorrow morning at market open, see how things are into later in the day. Bloom Energy, for example, they're looking to find a support around 125. And if they do find that support there, they'd be looking to bounce possibly back up to 163. But again, the company's seeing some downward pressure. So just kind of waiting for confirmation that they can actually do a reversal. And then maybe they'll make out okay. But currently they are selling down. It's pretty strong in their sell-off. So just keeping that in mind. All right, what's going on? Carlos, how are you doing, Carlos? All is good. NBIS long? Yeah, I mean, NBIS for a long-term infrastructure play in data centers is one that we definitely have been following. Got to keep an eye on these types of companies, especially like Bloom. In fact, I actually want to add this into some of our watch lists in the energy fields and just have some more focus on this company. I like the recommendation, especially if you think about, the biggest bottlenecks for AI, it's the power, right? The energy. So that's definitely going to be a big one. All right. Hev says, still waiting for my refund. What refund? What refund are you talking about? What refund? Okay. Henrim says, what should I buy tomorrow? Please help. Well, I mean, that's why we're here, right? So top AI companies that we're watching, a lot of them seeing downward pressure, no reversal just yet. Obviously, the oil markets, we talked about this a lot, like oil. I have a position, for example, over on oil U. So that one goes up when the oil market goes up. You can see over here on the right side, and it's crushing. It's up 87%. So I think like a really good market to focus on for this month is going to be the oil markets. And I have a lot of experience trading the oil markets. In fact, like one of the things that was super killer other than our Tesla trade right after the elections was just trading, because when like we had a similar scenario happen, big ramp up in oil production in the US when there was the elections, because Saudi Arabia and Aramco basically stopped their oil production because they were anticipating that the US would want to do more in-house production and more build more infrastructure and things like that, which has been kind of the focus with our current administration. And when that happened, you had the big change in oil, and then oil basically surged. And now we're doing kind of a similar scenario, except amplified times like 10 or 15, which is the IREN wars. Basically, they're closing the entire strait. Like they can't even ship oil. They're not allowing Saudi Arabia to like bring oil through. If I'm not mistaken, that's like off limits at the moment, which is going to drive oil prices up. Or maybe US can get oil fast enough from our own internal sources, but for the most part, you're already seeing oil like, I don't know. I just went to the store in California here. It was like $7. It's like $7 a gallon or something, right? So, it's definitely up there. And it's already happening. So, just looking at that opportunity, definitely something we're watching at market open tomorrow morning. We trade oil a lot of times. And then some of like the data center markets, the AI markets, you're not really going to want to do too much there. If you're in any, super short-term trades and you're down, that just comes down to like figuring out that structure that you need to build. Like that's just a skill problem if you're massively down, because it means you got to manage your positions well. This is a super volatile time. You don't want to if you're feeling like super stressed about a position, that might be the case. If you're, but if you're like looking at the positions today and you're looking at long-term positions and they're down, yeah, I wouldn't worry about any of those positions. Personally, I don't worry about any of the long-term positions. In fact, these are the types of moments where, yes, there's volatility, but this is where positions are built right now. So, yeah. All right, what else do we got going on? AMZN, okay. RCAT, Johnny says, love the RCAT video. Yeah. So, Henrim, like, what I would say is, like, yeah, defense, like, if you're looking at Lockheed Martin, I would ask you, why are you looking at Lockheed Martin? Maybe it's because you think, the defense markets are going to do better around this time, and you would be right. Right now, you're going to see a lot more growth in those markets. defense, oil, drone tech. I did a video today on RCAT. We've been covering RCAT for a while. We have a position there leading the portfolio up about 100% on that position right now because, they're really seeing growth from IREN as well. And so just kind of realizing, there's some companies that are not fully grown. They're not fully tapped into, and they're in the drone markets, the defense markets, the oil markets that would be worth watching right now for sure. Like we're going to keep an eye on those ones into tomorrow. Okay. SOXL. Yeah, that would be one you would look at after you get more confirmation of a reversal. So for example, like SOXL would be a position that you're bullish on the semiconductor market, and you would want to probably see a little bit more of a reversal there before you just jump in. Because right now, once again, like downward pressure, having some patience would put you in a position to just consistently, in order to get consistent results, you're going to want to, not just get in right away. You might want to be a little more conservative. But I see a little bit of a shift in the stocks currently. Portfolio going like a tiny bit positive from some positions here. All right, what else do we got going? Cooley High, what's going on? Jerica says Soundhound, S-O-U-N. Let's take a look. S-O-U-N. So Soundhound had really good earnings recently. They surprised a lot of people. But the thing is with this company is the manipulation. Currently, you can see that they are having a lot of growth over the last year, 2 years, but they have these cycles where they go from like $4 a share up to $25 a share. And a lot of times, that's totally fine if it was to be sustained. But, just like anything in the markets, if there's not integrity around the financials or, things to back up the valuations, when you get surges like that, they're just not going to be kept. So right now, the levels they're at, seeing this sell down, they kind of did this death cross where they crossed below the 200-day moving average that they were working to stay above for many months, and completely broke pattern, completely continued to sell off. And now they're getting rejected, falling below this EMA, selling down, and then, they're once again kind of selling down. So, there is a support level. There's like potential for recoveries, but if I'm not mistaken, Soundhound, let's pull it up over in Prophecy AI. Let's see, Soundhound has support around $8 a share, so that's right where they're at right now. Balance sheet, they do have cash, income statement, super negative net income, but good revenue, 42 million. But for their market cap of 3 billion, it's still looking pretty overvalued. A lot of the projections from Prophecy are looking very bearish. So taking my analysis frameworks and giving all of the data, like the insider trading, the institutional buying and selling order flows, all that stuff, company news, looking at some of the company news, including the charts and the technicals and the financials, and feeding them into the AI models. A lot of the models looking fairly bearish. You got Claude projecting, negative 12% or 6% here over the next month. Grok is, 12% negative here. So fairly bearish, and, into the next day, maybe a little bit of bullishness, but for the most part, pretty bearish on this stock here, Soundhound. And, I've been bearish on the stock for a bit too, just because of the valuation. So yeah, technicals look bad. Financials and news also are looking very iffy right now. But we're able to trade it. Like when it gets into an uptrend and it looks very good, it can be one to trade. So I'm definitely down to keep an eye on this one. But I don't have any positions long-term or anything like that, because they also are doing like AI voice. But AI voice is getting kind of like really centralized over with like Gemini and Claude. So companies are using it. And so to rely on sound, it's almost like, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how they do. I think that they might be in a tough spot in the market though. Okay. BITF holding 195, says Dean. Yeah, BITF hasn't seen any reversals yet. They've actually been bleeding as well. See them get down to 198. They did get a nice support level here at around 160 to $2 a share. You can see them find this support level. We're actually anticipating more of a bullish momentum on this company as they recently pivoted towards the AI data center markets. But again, they're going to see some downward pressure, and there's no indication of reversal yet. But they are looking to find support here once again around this $2 price range and looking to bounce still. If they do make that run to 250 where we saw them just back here in late January, then that would be about a 36% potential increase there. Yeah, but again, like I wouldn't say that's going to happen. They are right here at the support level. They have a lot to work through. What's going on? Carlos, Randall says, you got faith in APLD, but you're down from your buy-in. Don't even want to look at it right now. I guess it just depends on the strategy. You know, if you're long-term, you probably don't look at it anyway. Most people that are in, like all my long-term positions, I don't really look at it at all. That's why I keep them in my Schwab portfolio a lot of times. Because like the Schwab portfolio, it's like a whole nother portfolio compared to the shorter term stuff, you know? And so I don't even look at it. I love the Schwab portfolio for that reason. It's like completely emotionally detached. And, you know, we look to do the same thing over on the short-term trades as well. But just, yeah, preparing for this week, once again, like you're seeing a lot of pressure there. You got the inflation reports this week. You got the job opening reports this week. You're going to see CPI come out. You're going to see news and updates on the IREN war as well. And right now, it's looking great. If you're a short, if you've been shorting the company, it's great. You're looking good over this weekend. But again, like look into tomorrow. Let's see how things go throughout the rest of the day. Because once you get out of a losing streak or we get into where it's green, then if you're in shorts, you have to be ready for the reversal. So like for those of you guys that might be looking for, you know, the shorts against like semiconductors or against AI or data centers, I'd be very, very careful, because when you look at a lot of these companies, they pulled back and they're in positions where a lot of them are slightly depleted. And that's usually when institutions can come in and drive the prices up. Sometimes that's what we see, is that you get depletion from retail and then the institutions will drive things up. There's one thing I wanted to share with you guys as well. Aside from, you know, the data center rotations, and then we're going to be trading some more oil today. We got that oil U position running currently. Tomorrow morning, one thing we're going to watch as well is some of the energy sectors. Like I actually want to double down on some of the energy sectors we covered just a moment ago to see if any more opportunities are there in the morning, because I think that's going to be where rotations are potentially going soon. And in that moment, tomorrow morning, if you ever want to tune on in, feel free to have a look. Second link below. We're there every day, Monday through Friday. We will be there tomorrow morning at market open, and would love to see you there if you do decide you want to tune on in. And when it comes to DVLT, Andre says, hey, Will, have you heard of the DVLT? Yes, I've heard of this stock. I've seen it as super high risk personally. So, I mean, we could take a look, and I'll take a look over in Prophecy as well. Let's take a look at DVLT. Let's see here. Because in my experience, this company, while they have total assets that are up there, they're super negative on their net income. And I find their site to be very pump and dump type of site. Very pump and dump. Like they're showing tokenized blockchain solutions that are like super kind of like stock image stuff. AI images. I'm not a big fan of this data vault stuff. So you're going to have to do better than like AI images and stuff in order to impress me. when you're losing $38 million last quarter. So, I wouldn't cover it. I'm not really bullish on it. Hopefully that makes sense. I can look at the chart, but it might not be very helpful for you. Okay, super microcomputer. Yeah, so what do we got going on there? So super microcomputer, we had a trend going. We were watching for a potential reversal on super micro. We drew this line a while ago. It is holding that trend line, so that is good. Things staying true to pattern over there on SMCI. They're at $30 a share right now. And they've basically consistently found that support around $30 a share. You can see the resistance here right there around 35. So there is that potential run up that they can make, that they've really consistently been swinging between that $30 range and that $35 range. It's about a 10% potential gain, 10 to 15% gain there. So super microcomputer has that. I'm personally fairly bullish on super microcomputer in the medium to long term. Obviously, with the downward pressure we see right now, like once again, it's selling down. You can see selling down. No indication of support just yet. But the reason I would be bullish over on SMCI is because they have the XAI Colossus. So they're building for Elon's company. The whole supercomputer that powers Grok is being run with super microcomputer. And their financials, if you were to look at their financials just from an annual basis, I know that they've had so much volatility. People are really skeptical about them in 2024, 2023. Are they going to be partnered with NVIDIA or not? And they've run up still their revenue. Just look at that very, very consistent gain of revenue up to 22 billion. And they're one of the top companies. The reason that they're one of the top companies is because like NVIDIA or AMD or all those top GPU, the people that manufacture the computers that go inside of the data centers, those computers aren't really built to have the cooling capacity. And so super microcomputer builds the racks and the things that actually make sure that those GPUs are cooled. So companies like NVIDIA are paying a ton of money, and AMD and Elon's companies are paying a ton of money into super microcomputer in order to basically get the cooling systems that can make their data centers like way more efficient and save them energy. And so if you just look at the financials, it's super obvious. See the ramp up in the data centers jumping to $21 billion in revenue in 2025. Super obvious, $12 billion last quarter in December. And that's just in the quarter, $12 billion. So like if they're doing potentially in a quarter, right? That's what they just did, $12 billion. Imagine they run through 2026 with similar revenues. I'm talking about like what, $60 billion or close to $50 to $60 billion. And their current market cap is at 18 billion. So if they were to go out and just continue the growth that they're at right now, they potentially could be about 3x in price from where they are right now. And so that would put them around $90 a share. So they're currently at $30. They're kind of near that support level. We have seen them up at $90 a share before, but at that time they were trading on the hope that they would be kind of where they're at right now. And now they're actually kind of where they need to be financially, but then their stock missed all the hype and now they're down. So it's actually kind of an ideal time to be looking at super microcomputer for a longer term investment in my eyes. All right, what else do we got? Anyone buy the dip on APLX? No, we did not. We're looking at IREN as a trade that we're managing, and that it is currently down 3% today in APL, and the 2x there would be down 2 times that. Portfolio is slightly negative, just a little bit negative today. And some of our oil positions that we've entered recently have actually been great. It's cool when you can go through the rotations and go over to the oil watch list, and you can see all the oil companies green, super green. Okay, so Jaya says, hey, what's going on, Lee? How are you doing today? Good to see you. Just Garin, how are you doing? Overnight Success, APPN as well, Government Contracts AI Software Company. Yeah, I'll take a look there. Let me take a look there. So APPN, Appian is the name, or Appian, however you say it. So this company has, I'm just going to tell you right off the bat, they've had massive pump and dump activity before. I could see it back here in 2021. So I'm going to look at the financials really quickly, but I'm not going to give this one too much unless, things check out, you could say. APPN, let's take a look. From a financial perspective, the liabilities are greater than the assets. So I'm not even going to go into it. They got to support, if you want AI analysis, support at 26. Yeah, most of the projections are looking like they're going to be negative here from Prophecy AI. Part of the reason is just looking at the liabilities. They're greater than the assets. So they have negative equity of $49 million. Well, they had a positive net income last quarter of about $1 million, or not quarter, annually. They had a negative net income of about $5 million last quarter. They have to clean up the balance sheets. They can't be sitting there with more liabilities than assets. It's just not a good place for them financially. So that's, that poor financial management, it's been that way for years. Look at that. It's been that way for years. Is exactly why when you look at the chart, you just see them like kind of pump. They might have promises that they're going to do well. They might have contracts, but with poor financial management, they just bleed out and bleed out, It's just kind of bleeding out. One that would be like a good example of financials would be like CTM stock. CTM, this is the opposite. See how they're like not bleeding out, but they're actually like slowly ramping up. You see this, how it's kind of like a slow ramp up. It's because like they don't have insane hype or anything like that, but CTM stock has way more discipline around their financials. So you could see like their balance sheet, they're dropping their liabilities and their equity is going up. Their equity is greater than their assets and their income is going up and they have a positive net income. And those are the types of things that you need to see for a company to really just sustain growth. Like you could have a big article, really big hype, even a catalyst with a war in your defense company. But if your financials are showing like way more liabilities than assets, it's going to be a really tough time for that company to grow. So that's why I wouldn't touch that company that you just mentioned there, APPN. I mean, you could trade it, but I don't trade anything short term that I wouldn't buy long term. So I kind of like CTM. We might even be watching that one this next week. It's been really interesting to watch this last week, consolidating, kind of getting a little more momentum. Be watching there tomorrow. And then, yeah, SMCI. So hopefully that was helpful for you, Jaya, with the SMCI. James. All right, we got Andre. Thank you. Yeah, of course. Glad it's helpful for you. Yeah, and again, like, if you find value in a company that that I say I wouldn't invest in, by all means, don't take my word as like, I don't imagine you're taking it as, how you should make your decision. It's possible. There are certain instances where companies operate at a loss and then become profitable, like Amazon. Amazon was operating at a loss for years before they became profitable. But Amazon, what people don't talk about is Amazon always had a lot of cash built up. And so even though they were operating at a loss, they never had like more liabilities than assets. Whereas some of these companies have more liabilities than assets, and that's just a red flag. Just wouldn't touch them. Yeah. Great, guys. We got Jose. We got Jaskarin. Appreciate you guys. Andre, James, a few other tickers. We got LUNR. Yeah, so LUNR just did a full breakdown on this recent space tech company. They're still a little bit on the overbought side, or they're in the middle of a trend right now. So if you look at them, you can see this is their trend right now. And you can see they're kind of in the middle of a trend. So they had this overall uptrend, and then they got this previous resistance, rising resistance. So they got the overall trend basically, and then they have the recent pull down. So maybe they continue, LUNR continues to run up to, $22 a share. But even so, like, it's a little higher risk. You could even see them sell down in this $15 range before continuing up. So in a medium to long-term trade, entry is like not so hot. Super long-term doesn't really matter, but like medium to long-term trade, not really a good entry probably right now. In a short-term trade, as long as you're managing risk, as long as you do that, you'll be okay. But I probably would be more patient on this one. We just did a full breakdown on this company though. I just recently went to learn some more about this company and got to speak with some people at Intuitive Machines, and they are launching infrastructure onto the moon. They've got some financials that have looked okay. They need to improve their financials a little bit, but they've signed a ton of deals recently. A lot of different contracts, $8 million here for Air Force Research Laboratory. They've signed some deals with some other companies. I think they're working with Department of Defense and some others. They're working with NASA for sure, Columbia, and getting some infrastructure on the moon. They just got selected by L3Harris, which is another defense company. So they're in a good spot, but from a financial perspective, they are kind of at a premium right now. And from a chart perspective, they're kind of in between the middle right now, where it's not really a perfect entry on a short-term trade. I would look for a sell down into like 15 to 16 or $15 and see if they hold around that $15 range. And then on a reversal there, we start to look for that $23 price point. And then you're looking for like 30 to 60% trade. To me, that would make a lot more sense. Yeah. Yeah, of course. Thank you for tuning in. Caden, yeah, U.S. Department, what's the thoughts on Mark Wayne Mullen to lead the U.S. Department of Homeland Security? You got me, dude. I have no idea. I don't know. But let me write it down. Yeah, go take a look there. Any shift in Homeland Security has a big impact on defense. Could probably ask our AI about that. Yeah, pretty bullish, pretty mixed, but pretty bullish there as well on CTM. So defense markets are looking fairly bullish right now. Even with a little red, there is some red here pre-market to tomorrow, but it's still looking like they're growing. So if you have a goal, guys, of getting into a position where you have the ability to be more consistent, don't worry about like taking care of everything. Like, it might just be that you spend an extra amount of time, 30 minutes or an hour a day after work or while you're working, to just get a better understanding of some of the companies that you can invest in long term that are seeing a lot of the great results that we're seeing in these markets with the AI and the data centers and the space tech markets and the quantum markets. Because a lot of these companies, they're really, really good to know about right now. The thing that you want to stay away from is going to be a lot of hype stocks. You guys know there was like 5-10 stocks that came into our chat today that were way more liabilities than assets and probably really bad investments. And a lot of times end up being the barnacle type leech stocks that I help investors that I work with one-on-one remove from their portfolio. So when it comes down to identifying value, getting, really great returns and things, just realize, it does take time to take some consistency in your day-to-day. And as long as you have a goal, as long as you're working towards it, you will have success. You just have to stay consistent and continue to build on your consistency. So I appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope that I earned your thumbs up. If you guys want to join us at Market Open, we will be there live tomorrow morning. It's the second link below. Love to see you there. And there's also that trial for the paid trial for Prophecy AI. If you want these projections as well, get your hands on the best AIs in the world, including Gemini and Claude and Grok with the latest models available, equipped with my exact analysis. That's going to be the third link in the description below for that. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Appreciate you all. Do consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.